Aloha, everyone. My name is Christina Laney Mitri, and this is Smart Living Hawaii's podcast, where we discuss smart technology, smart business, sustainability, and healthy lifestyles. Today, we'll continue our Sustainable Leaders series, and we're going to have a talk story with Quinn Vittum. He's the Executive Director of Reuse Hawaii. We will learn about construction and the huge carbon footprint it leaves behind. From demolition to new build, its waste is massive, and we must find solutions to this problem. Thanks to Quinn and his team, they are paving the path for our future here in Hawaii. And thanks so much, Quinn, for joining us. Aloha.
Thanks, Christina. Aloha. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so before I get started, I'm just going to give a quick bio, and then we could dive into our talk story. Quinn Vittum, he is the Executive Director of Reuse Hawaii, as I mentioned. He co-founded the organization in 2006 after founding a Habitat for Humanity Restore and Olympia Salvage, an independent nonprofit, both in Washington State. Quinn's life mission is to create a more sustainable world by helping create innovative solutions to the demolition and disposal paradigm. With a talented staff of 37 people, Quinn oversees Reuse Hawaii's deconstruction and material redistribution programs, including a recent expansion to Hawaiʻi Island. Quinn studied fine art and sustainability at SUNY New Paltz, the University of New Hampshire, and Evergreen State College. As the Omidyar Fellow and through his work with the Hawai'i Leadership Forum, Quinn aims to help Hawaii navigate its waste management challenges and develop a more robust circular economy in our state. Quinn sits on the board of directors of HEMIC Insurance, I know them, Hawaii's largest workers' compensation insurance carrier. He lives in Kaimuki with his wife, Kara, and 5-year-old son, Skylar. So, welcome.
There it
So
is.
now that
Thanks,
we have
Christina.
an understanding a little bit more about Quinn, how about we just dive a little bit deeper on your background? Because I see that you're not from here, and a lot of people that do come to Hawaii and bring innovation and bring a lot of this sustainability is like they're bringing it to Hawaii. And it's awesome to see that, those gifts coming to here. So tell me how you got here and how you got into this space of sustainability.
Wow, it's a big question to kick it off with. Thank you, Christina. Yeah, so I always had an interest in trying to figure out how to make the world a better place, and did a lot of kind of research in college, trying to kind of figure out how we can create a more sustainable world. And it had a lot of great opportunities. I did a study abroad in India and explored intentional communities and in India and other places, and just to see what other folks were doing to kind of tap into a more holistic lifestyle and sustainable practices, and learned a lot about natural building and all these things. And when I moved to Washington State, I went to Evergreen State College, and in the summer, I worked for an architectural salvage company called Second Use. They're still around, great organization. And so kind of cut my teeth at Second Use, learning how to salvage material and bring it back to the warehouse and redistribute it to the community as an affordable resource. It was just so fun and kind of addictive in a way, just to wake up every day and be able to recover things from the waste stream and make it a reusable resource. So yeah, and then I like you mentioned, went on to start two of my own enterprises, a Habitat for Humanity Restore, and then an organization called Olympia Salvage. And then in 2006, I came out here to help start Reuse Hawaii with Selena Tarantino and some other people that wanted to try and figure out how we can cultivate a more circular economy in Hawaii. As an island community, it's obvious we have some real challenges to how we manage our waste and our resources and our land, and keeping stuff out of the landfill is kind of number one. So, and we can get into deconstruction and what we came up with, but that's the quick and dirty.
Awesome. So what do you do for fun outside of reclaiming houses?
Actually, lately it's been working with my son, who's 5, working with the salvage material, like building stuff and playing with drills, and just, getting him familiar with woodworking and stuff. It's really fun. 5 is a really interesting age where they, really start to figure out how to use their hands and do like some creative stuff. So
Yeah, I know my son's 3 and he has this like little plastic decker or whatever set. And it's like not real, but it still has like a drill thing, and it makes it like drill the little thing down so he understands the concepts, and it's like putting things together, but it's not really but he's 3, so I'm like, I don't know. He rides electric bikes and everything, but I don't know about power tools yet.
yeah, you give them a couple of years, it's amazing. They grow up quick.
Yeah. So that's good to see, because the next generation, it's kind of handing down like everything that we've learned, and kind of getting it into the hands of our youth is huge. And just typical things to do, right? I mean, things like this, it's like you're building things and you're hands on. I feel like it's skipped a generation of just getting that dynamic with the younger generation. Like, they're on computers and technology, and they aren't out there doing these things with their hands, and like outside, and building, or just learning the way I guess we did when we grew up. So it's neat to see this next generation. I feel like our age, I don't know if you're Gen X, or I'm not too sure, it's probably Gen X, I don't know how old you are, but it's like now that we have our kids, it's like the things that we remember growing up as a kid, it's like we want to instill that in our kids, which we just see the people right before us, like the kids right before, after us, they're like, oh, they didn't get that side. So, it's an interesting layer of our things unfolding. So back into Reuse Hawaii. Maybe we can talk about your mission and the goals that you have and the things that you do at Reuse Hawaii first. And then we can kind of break down those things like the deconstruction and things like that. That would be good.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, so at its core, we have a waste crisis in Hawaii. The landfills are closing. We have, pretty robust market in construction where there's a lot of activity, and statewide we produce about 600,000 tons of construction material, and 30% of our overall waste stream is construction material. So it's the largest single contributor. And a lot of that material is actually reusable or recyclable if we think about how we're doing the demolition work. So that's what we started with back in 2006, developing an alternative to demolition that we call deconstruction. Instead of smashing buildings down with an excavator and sending it all to a landfill, we take buildings apart in the opposite order that they're built, looking at what was put in last, we take out first, and deconstruct the buildings and piece by piece. And it's such a contrast from demolition, and some industry folks have a hard time getting their head around it, because there's a demolition paradigm where how you take a house down is you just smash it down. But we're trying to kind of change that mindset and show people what's possible. And so there's a lot of single wall houses built in the 1950s and 60s that just aren't suitable for a lot of families, and so they take them down to build something bigger, maybe for multiple generations to live in. And so we help folks with that and deconstruct the buildings. And a lot of times they're sentimental houses too. So it feels good to, if your dad or grandfather built the house, it feels good not to just smash it down. Yeah, and so the
It's
homeowners,
redwood a lot of the times, right?
right? Exactly. Redwood, old growth Douglas fir, things that you wouldn't be able to find unless you salvaged it from an old house. Yeah. So, and then the homeowner gets a tax deduction for the value of all the salvage material. So it's a huge benefit for them. In fact, most folks, after they receive their tax benefit, spend less doing their deconstruction as they would if they demolished. So it just feels good to have a green alternative that actually pays off.
Yeah.
And and then just there's the job creation, and we also recover tremendous amounts of lumber and things that have a lot of what's called embodied energy. So all the energy that was originally invested into a material, say like a 2x4 rafter, we not only recover the waste and keep it out of the landfill, but we also recover all the energy that was originally invested to make it in the first place, thereby preventing the need to consume more energy to make new products. So there's a lot of kind of deeper benefits to the circular economy and the work that we're trying to do.
Yeah. Sorry if you could hear my dog. He's growling at someone at
Oh,
the door.
cute.
Anyhow, so the other thing too that I really want, and I really want this to get out because it's similar to solar, right? It's the idea of getting that tax break to where the numbers make sense. And anytime there's a way to take advantage of that as a household or a family, where the numbers make sense to do things more sustainably, then it's just a matter of getting that information out there, right? And so then they have that opportunity. And I mean, hands down, I can guarantee you that if you're going to get the same results, but you're bettering the environment and it's a little bit cheaper, I think everybody's going to say yes to it. Like, even if it's going to take a little more time. I mean, it doesn't take that much more time, but if it does, I mean, that's the hugest thing. So at this point in time, I know you guys are the only ones doing this, but if we get this out and it becomes a common thread, like a common option for people, and they know about it and they understand, before I talked to you, I honestly thought it was going to cost more and take way more time. So I could understand like not even really presenting it as an option to people who are on a strict budget, right? But now it's like it kind of opens the doors to like, let's let everybody know about this because it's just a viable option now. So that's what I'm really excited about. That's why solar has taken off so well here, because there's all these options for people who may not have originally been able to afford it. And when it comes down through, more of like a luxury option down to mainstream and across the board, everybody could do it, then that's when it just starts snowballing. So I'm excited for you guys. And I believe it's going to pick up. And I think it may even be mandated, right? Because some places are. And I have a friend in Palo Alto. I think I was telling you about that. I didn't look up all the details, but she did say she helped make it's a law now in Palo Alto that they have to deconstruct, and it is no longer an option to even demolish. So then it also builds and creates jobs, right? So maybe you could talk about that with your workforce development and the stuff that you're doing with your team. That's an interesting one too.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, actually, two great points there, Christina. The legislation's an interesting piece that we've seen in other cities like Palo Alto, like you mentioned, Portland, Oregon, San Antonio, other places that just put more of an emphasis on waste reduction from construction projects, and it can make a huge impact. So there might be some legislators this coming year that are going to work on some solutions that work for everybody, building industry, homeowners, and possibly help create a bigger industry around deconstruction. In Portland, it's fascinating that the equivalent to Reuse Hawaii out there is called the Rebuilding Center. And they stopped doing deconstruction because there's all these private contractors that popped up out of the ordinance that the city created. And so it's a great example of what some policy can do to create a more sustainable community. So
now those other companies, so like it would be like you would be the hub where they bring everything to, and then other companies would kind of pop up to do that side of to carry that load.
Exactly. Yeah, because there's a huge amount of demolition deconstruction work, and we wouldn't be able to do it all ourselves anyway. So we need other players. And so yeah, we could funnel the material through our warehouse in Kaka'aka, which we should talk more about. But there's also the Habitat for Humanity restores, and there's other groups like Nanakuli Housing Corporation that take in donated material. There's Partners in Care that need furniture for the apartments they outfit for folks transitioning out of houselessness, and so lots of needs and opportunity. So then on the workforce development side, to do all this deconstruction, we need to, there needs to be people that are trained up and able to do that. And so 3 years ago, we started a workforce development program, initially partnering with Kupu, which is a nonprofit that does a lot of conservation work and has really well-structured internship programs.
Yeah, we have a podcast with them, with John. Yeah.
Oh, great. Oh, nice. Yeah. Of course.
And Honolulu Habitat for Humanity, and kind of a lot of the people that you've mentioned too. So you could always check the waste stream and landfills. We had recycling. So there's a lot of things that you can kind of ducktail off of this one if you want to learn more.
Yeah, Mike O'Keefe from ENView, the city, and Nicole Chatterson from Zero Waste. Yeah, great episode. So thanks for doing this for everyone, Christina. So our workforce development program is really taking shape. In fact, we're in a accelerator program called Red F, and they're training us to how to make bigger impacts around our workforce development. It's a Bay Area based program. And so we have participants come through and work on our team and learn about, everything from tool use to teamwork to materials. Some of them are younger folks that we work through the city youth services program. And so they're just here to get work experience. And we also support folks that are transitioning out of being in prison. And so that's been really helpful. We work with the furlough programs and give folks opportunities. And in fact, they've been great team members, and we promoted a few of them. And so, yeah,
like a trade like program where they like learn a certain skill set, and then they're then able to go out, like put that on their resume and have that kind of certification or something.
Exactly. Yeah, we do forklift training, and I think the job experience is probably the biggest one. Folks that just have the opportunity to learn deconstruction and be on a team, and have stuff on their resume that where they would be able to get a job down the line, or join the union or whatever it might be. So that's the idea. And then with a focus on folks that have barriers to employment, I think we'd all be really surprised about the barriers that folks that have been in prison have to getting jobs. So we want to kind of break that down and change it for them. So
that's awesome. Let's see. I think you also have other things that you guys do. I know you're talking about the hotel industry. That's an interesting one because obviously economy-wise, we have a lot of tourism and a demand for nicely renovated places that are not run down. But then it's like when it comes to waste, and I think this is across the board, it's like if it's out of sight, out of mind, then nobody really thinks about it, right? So then you're just like, oh, I didn't think about where it went. but here is another one that is actually a lot of stuff when a hotel is being renovated. So maybe you could dive into that one a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, there was a time when the hotel furniture was like kind of cheesy rattan or just stuff that maybe was good, but like not like really appealing. But now there's some really great furniture that hotels need to clear out and replace with other stuff. Um, so in fact, every 5 to 8 years, hotels generally do a refresh of the furniture, or they call it FF&E. And so think about all the resorts and hotels. It represents a huge potential waste stream, but we'd like to look at it as a resource for the community. Our first big hotel project was in 2020, and we worked with East West Partners. They were the manager for the Princeville Resort up in on Kauai, and it's now one hotel, which has gotten a lot of press around just how
The
awesome it came out.
sustainable one, right? Is that the
Yeah,
sustainable one?
yeah, a lot of things that they did with the design that helps with sustainability for sure. Yeah,
I
and so
think
we were
so the Omidyar project group, they worked on, I think, their gym and a lot of the furniture building out with Omidyar, which is really
okay.
cool.
I hadn't.
But yeah, I needed to look more into that. I was supposed to do a podcast with them, but it slips our time. So I gotta get on it because it seemed
Nice.
like a pretty cool hotel. So
Yeah,
I'm
good
glad
job.
that they're using you. That's awesome.
Yeah, so we are contracted to liquidate the old Princeville resort, which had been the St. Regis, and people refer to it as that. Yeah, and 250 rooms of really great quality furniture and all the back of house stuff from the kitchen, and it was loads and loads. In fact, we had to get an overflow warehouse because we couldn't fit it all in our place in Kaka'ako. But most importantly, we did because it was 2020 and Kauai was, really shut down, and
Mhm.
so difficult for a lot of folks. And so we did a community give back campaign. So about a third of all the furniture and material went to local nonprofits and community groups. So like there was for example, the Hawaiian Homelands families took all the mattresses, which is great. There was a women's shelter that took a bunch of bedding and stuff. And
How do you do that? Do you disinfect the mattresses or do they just take them? People just
yeah,
take them?
I mean, it's a 5-star hotel, so these happen to be really nice. They had like the zipper top that you could take off and wash, and they were clean. And if there was any that kind of weren't in good shape, we didn't donate those, but most of them were good.
I would
So
imagine, right? Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, then there was 2 baby grand pianos, and they went to the local charter school on Kauai, which I just thought was cool. I bet they're playing them right now. So
That's awesome. So they basically contracted you guys out to take everything and deconstruct whatever internally, and then um you're not paying for any of this stuff. It's just like you're getting paid to take it all out and then do something with it. And then
yeah,
they get a donation. Do big corporations get a huge tax break as well?
yeah. So all the material that we recover, no matter the project, is considered a tax deductible donation, and they get a receipt for that. And so at the end of the project, depending on their tax strategy and their tax brackets and all that, they can get a tax benefit. And so, yeah, I believe that the owners out there benefited greatly from that because it was, tremendous value in terms of
Yeah, I'm
donation.
sure. Yeah, for sure. Um, what about your location? Like, let's talk about when you deconstruct, like where it all goes and where you're at in Kaka'ako and what you do there.
Cool. Yeah, thank you. So we call it our redistribution center because it's really about, like, you can salvage material all day long, but until you redistribute it to somebody that can use it, you haven't really completed the mission. So our redistribution center in Kaka'ako is actually 40,000 square feet. And it's stocked with all kinds of goodies, doors and windows, plumbing and electrical fixtures, lots of lumber, lots of TNG redwood. We have appliances. There's a whole hardware section with a tool area of old tools that were donated, and so people love it. I'm sure a lot of listeners have been and continue to come back, because every time you come, it's something different and new. And so we really appreciate the following that we have. About 42,000 folks signed up in our system as reusers. So it's really awesome. And we serve about 4,000 people every month, and we're able to redistribute tremendous amounts of material that would otherwise end up in the landfill. So yeah, and there's also the Honolulu Tool Library inside reuse. So for folks that don't have tools, you can sign up as a member with them.
You have a podcast with Ben on that one.
Of course, yeah.
Oh yeah, I know. I was interested in their 3D printing, and because they got that, and they had like a laser printer, and I was wanting to put like my logos on top of these cutting boards that I had that were wood. So it's like, oh, you guys do that? It's so awesome. It's
yeah. Cool.
Anyways,
yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, so folks know about Tool Library, and it's membership based. I think there's 250-ish members, and they also do workshops on the weekends. This weekend there's a make a spoon workshop, I think out of Walnut. So folks can get a chance to learn how to use tools under supervision, figure out the safety around it and all that. So so that's
check out tools, which is kind of cool. I think that's a big thing now with a lot of people in condos and not having a tool shed and not having, the need of having all of that too, right? I mean, does everybody really need to have all those things? No, they don't. And that keeps down all of this, that goes to waste at the end of the day.
Exactly. So, yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Let's see. What about trees? This was a new one to me. I did not know you guys dealt with trees, but it's good to know and how that works.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting story. When I was in Washington State, a friend of mine he milled windfall trees. The company is called Windfall, and I always thought, wow, what a great thing. We just never had the equipment or the systems for it. Yeah. So in 2018, I was driving on Punchbowl, and at the Capitol campus, there was an arborist taking down this giant tree, this ear pod. So it's like monkey pod, similar. And so I pulled over because it just was obvious that this was a great resource, and they didn't have plans for it. So they brought it over here, and we partnered with a local miller to do a pilot project. We took in 8 trees and milled them up and redistributed them to folks, basically as live edge slabs. So you just cut 2-inch slabs and keep the live edge on, and folks get creative. They build desks or shelving or benches, all kinds of different things with it, dining tables. And so, of course, it was a hit, and we did some fundraising and got a grant from the Kosasa Family Foundation, and then acquired our mill, and also got a sponsorship from Hunt Development, who gave us our tree milling yard because we didn't have space here in Kaka'ako. That's on the west side, and yeah, it's been great. We're currently putting out the message that we're accepting tree donations, and it's another tax deductible donation. So if folks don't have there's a lot of trees in backyards that unfortunately people need to take down if they're doing a construction project. So that happens. There's road work where trees get taken down. There's also a lot of conservation related trees that are removed. So we're trying to tap into those, and of course want to make sure that any trees in the urban environment that can remain are kept and taken care of, because it's super important.
What
But
about trees that are dying? Are those still salvageable?
yeah, sometimes it depends on how long they've been rotting,
Because
and
we had a, this is a crazy story, but like a week before we were closing, um, I don't know if I told you I'm in real estate, right? But a week before we're closing on a property, and it was in Waimanalo, there was a stream. It has lots of trees. It's almost like an arboretum. Like it just, they planted over the years so many different exotic trees on this property, and it's like you could walk through it and see all these interesting types of trees. But they have so many trees that maybe weren't necessarily tended to, and they were so big, right? And this one, literally a week before we closed, we were representing the buyer. The tree like falls down across the stream over to the next house property and makes this huge bridge. I mean, the tree is literally in diameter, like taller than me, I would say almost, like, not diameter, like diameter. So I was just like, you could literally walk across and get over. It kind of totally damaged their yard in the front area. And
oh
it was
boy,
like probably $30,000 worth of damage. And I was just like, thank God this happened before before our
yeah,
clients closed, because it would have been their responsibility.
oh
So
boy,
anyhow, the seller did have to take care of all of that. But along that, it took 4 more trees down because it
okay,
knocked all that down, right? It's
yeah,
going across. They did haul out stuff, and I don't know exactly to what extent, but I'm just thinking like there's a lot of these trees, right, that are like unsafe, or like they look like they're dying. Like, what do you do with them? Are they still salvageable? If they are, like, that's a interesting thing to know. Like, and how
definitely.
would you know? How would you know with you guys? Does someone come and check them, or do you just come and get them, or what do you
Yeah, you
do?
usually have to cut it down to really see what you're working with in terms of millability. But yeah, it's ideal for a tree to be wet when when you mill it. So the dead trees are a little bit hard, but we should explore it. And I'm curious what they did with that one. It probably went to green
Sure,
waste.
ask my client about it. They probably just cut it off at the edge, and I don't know if they did anything. I mean, it is so big. I don't think they removed it. But I
Oh,
think they just salvaged the person's yard, but I could be wrong. I don't know. But yeah, it was a huge tree. So, anyways, I was just curious about that because there is a lot. I mean, in our industry, obviously in sustainability, our whole goal is to plant trees and to save trees. But if you can't, or there needs to come down, or safety wise, then it's nice to know that there's an option besides just taking it to, I guess, the incinerator, or where else, right? Where does it go?
yeah,
Sometimes they keep it. I
could
don't
be
know where's it
goes
goes
to
to.
green waste, or worst case, it actually goes to landfill, which can happen. Folks commingle material in a dumpster. Um, but yeah, with like monkey pod mango, I mean, there's even talk with Joey from Albizia Project. I mean, there's a lot of uses for some of the invasive trees that we see. Um, so just the idea is to create more resources that are already here, so we're not shipping in new stuff unnecessarily.
Right, for sure. Um, let's see. We also have some other things. Do you have any? Maybe we can talk a little bit about deconstruction, like the types of things that you cannot salvage. I like, that's good to know, just so people know in their minds, like when you are doing deconstruction, these are the things that actually do end up in the landfills or incinerator. I don't know, depends on what the product is.
Yeah, right. Um, yeah, so there's such an array of different projects. I think from the commercial side, we see the most challenge in our acceptance policy matching up with what's on site. For example, acoustic ceiling tiles are everywhere and get taken down all the time. The drop ceiling in an office or something. So we looked into like shipping them because the manufacturers of them have recycling programs, but it's really designed for the mainland, for the continent. And if you put in the shipping costs back to, I think we had to take it to Portland, Oregon, that's closest port to their recycling facility. It just didn't pencil out. The Pacific Guardian project. So that's a challenge. Drywall is also, there's a lot of drywall. We can't do anything with it. There's ways to reuse and recycle cut-offs from new drywall, but if it's painted and has spackle on it and stuff, it's a little more difficult. Of course, old carpet is also problematic. And then the last thing would be, well, there are two more things. There's Koenig ceilings, which were like a ceiling insulation material that was used, 1930 to 1960-ish, around there. And it was probably a good use of like the sugarcane pulp that they had as a byproduct, but they also put arsenic in it, and it's just bad stuff. So
well, it's just like popcorn ceilings. What about that? Like what if you come across a popcorn ceiling that was built before 1980 or whatever? Like, what do you guys do? Do you guys actually test it, or do you guys just act like it is, or asbestos?
Yeah, so with asbestos, we have to do samples, and then if there's we call it ACM, asbestos containing material, then we have to have an abatement contractor come in and do that work, and monitor the air and clear it for our crew to come back in. There's also lead paint in older houses, which is probably our bigger concern around hazardous material. If it's flaking and peeling and unstable, we can't save it. It's just too lead is just hazardous to human health. We don't want to have that back out into the community. So that has to get landfilled, unfortunately. So, but overall, like, I think the operative point is that from a single wall house typical project, we can recover 70% of the overall volume of material. So it's a good place to be. There's a lot of opportunity to recover the material than just that 30% that we have to do something else with. And sometimes it's metal, like conduit or piping that we can recycle, but then there's some residual stuff that has to go to the landfill.
Then when it comes to oh shoot, totally slipped my mind on deconstruction and let's see. I was totally, is at the tip of my tongue too. Shucks. It will come back to me, I know. Because I was gonna ask this other question, but it made me think about something else. I will circle back around to that when it comes to mine. But let's see. I want to make sure we cover all these things. Is there any other things that you're thinking of? I'm looking through my list here.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, I think I touched on it a little bit, just the idea of a circular economy, which is really kind of the broader purpose and mission that we're all trying to work towards. So there's kind of three main components to the circular economy. One is regenerating natural systems, and like the work that Kuku does around conservation. There's also designing out waste and pollution, which is a big one that we're in touch with as you know, the design community, architects, interior designers, to think about how they're designing buildings so that we can pay attention to sustainability in general. And it could also mean like packaging and different things like that affect the waste stream, and sort of designing our our consumption so that we're not creating too much waste. And then there's the third part, which we fit into, which is keeping products and material in use. It's just such an awesome opportunity that we have to plug in the circular economy. And it comes at a really important time too, because of this whole landfill crisis. The landfills are closing in 2028. Both landfills at the same time, so it's kind of a perfect storm. There's PVT landfill, it takes construction material. They were unable to implement their expansion plan, so they decided to shut down. And then there's Waimanalo Gulch, which is up the hill from Ko'olina, not to be confused with Waimanalo. It's been that landfill has been an issue for quite a while. Leachate problems, general management problems. I think it was slated to close quite a while ago. So it's kind of finally come due, and the city is now faced with trying to find where a new landfill can go. And I think Mike kind of touched on that, but it's not an easy task. On
So
Oahu,
there's no solution as of what we speak right now, as from my understanding.
I think that's correct. Yeah, there's no place where
You're the solution. I'm just kidding.
yeah, well, that's kind of my point, and how I got on that is best to kind of work on how we can reduce the need for a landfill. So our team here, we're just thrilled to be such a big part of the sustainability of the community, because waste has now risen to kind of a huge piece of it all. So
Yeah. So I did have a couple things too. I know that we had mentioned, because we kind of crossed paths as guest speakers a couple weeks ago, and you had mentioned about the pilot program and Kuapakori. Maybe you can share a little bit about that, because we didn't really too much talk into legislation, but when you guys kind of are going down that road of creating laws for this, the hurdles that you guys face, and then hopefully some of the things that come from it, even if the bill isn't passed, like just the awareness of it then creates some potential pilots and things like that. So maybe you can share a little bit about that story.
right. Yeah, so the idea is we have all these transfer stations, right, where the city collects waste and then just distributes it to either the landfill or H Power. And there's a huge missed opportunity to give residents an option to donate reusable material before they dump it into the pit at the transfer station.
Or
So
just dump it on the side of the road or
right,
whatever, because they're gonna have to pay for it, or whatever the case may be.
exactly, yeah. So we started discussions with ENV, the Environmental Services Department of the city, and of course they're excited about it because their mission is to address this problem. And so with support from the city council, in particular, Chair Waters, really interested in this concept. They introduced a budget amendment, and then passed the initiative to do a pilot project for setting up a collection site at Kapa'akori transfer station. So we're going to do it for 3 to 6 months, and have an attendant up there, and a container or box truck, and folks can pull in and donate material. It could be household, it could be building materials, it could be furniture, and then we'll redistribute to Goodwill Industries for like shoes and clothes and that kind of stuff. And then the building materials will come to Kaka'aka, and we'll sort them.
So do you kind of does your attendant look at the actual items and say, we can take this, this, and this, and then they just take it and then the rest goes to the dump? Is that kind of how it goes?
Yeah. We'll have to be pretty specific about what we can take, just because we don't want to be stuck with material that folks don't want and we can't redistribute. So
Because there's
But
like companies like Junkman, Aloha Junkman, and just different companies that are hauling out stuff from houses like left and right. But then they're having to, like, I know they was personally like take things to different places because they know like this could be salvageable or this can be gifted or this. So you guys might actually be almost like, is it like a one-stop shop? Like you're saying, like people with just household things, like they could come to you and then you guys sort it. Is that right?
exactly, yeah, I mean, the transfer stations are meant to be a convenience center. And if you can't donate the reusable material, it's just, not quite where we want it to be, especially if we're trying to think about the circular economy and also the mindsets around waste, because we stood at the pit with the ENV guys and we're watching, and it's like furniture, and somebody had like a whole stack of Home Depot 5-gallon buckets in good condition, just all these kind of things that just
You're
shouldn't
like
be.
you're like going through the trash, like, wait a minute, I could take
Yeah,
all that.
exactly. Yeah, no, it's
I could
not.
sell
No,
this at my store.
it's painful. Even the folks that work at the transfer station, it's just it's just a brutal experience when you see the good stuff get thrown out. So
Yeah.
we're really excited about that. I think it's going to roll out early next year, and we'll have a report and lots of media around it,
Awesome.
and the idea is to continue it forward and have at one of these sites at all the major transfer stations. So like think Middle Street, and probably the one over in Waimanalo would be a good spot as well. So stay tuned, lots of developments.
I did want to give a shout out to my alma mater, Roosevelt High School, because you did talk about that at the time we met and what you did there. And to me, it's like a lot of the things that you can reclaim, and when you're doing these things, you don't even think about it. I mean, when someone says they're renovating the bleachers or the gym of a place, you're not really, you're just like, you think of an empty room, right? I don't know, like, and you're like, oh yeah, they renovated the gym. And then it's like, wow, that is a lot of waste. If you're then talking about all of the bleachers, like that's a lot of stuff that went out. So maybe you could share that story.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of great aspects to the Roosevelt Gym project, which we finished 6 months ago or so. The first is that the architect noticed the bleacher boards and said, "Hey, wait a minute, this stuff should be recovered." So they put in the specifications for the project that they should be kept out of the waste stream of the project. So that's kind of number one for our Choi and Associates, is the architect. Um, yeah, then we got on site and recovered all. It's a Douglas fir from the early 60s. So also probably some old growth and really great material, and has lots of different uses, all 16-foot lengths and stuff. And so we brought it all back to the warehouse, and we found that people have such a connection to the material because they went to school there, and wanted a little piece of it. And so you can read it on our Instagram. There's a post about it, and folks are commenting on just, there was a one woman whose sister was like a basketball coach and ended up teaching her daughter how to play basketball in the gym, and they spend a lot of time in that place, and so a
Like
lot of
sentimental, yeah.
yeah,
Did
totally.
didn't you guys make some picnic benches or something out of them? I can't remember. What was the pictures, or is that what you did?
Yeah,
No.
so they're from another gym in Pearl City. We've made some picnic tables for Office of Hawaiian Affairs, where their food truck setup is at where Fisherman's Wharf was.
Did you make one
So
for Pearl City High School, or was it from Pearl City High School?
no, they yeah, no need on their side. We should have offered though, but yeah, it was same material, same great
That
stuff.
would have been cool.
Yeah, other times we see like the gym court comes out. There's a lot of folks have used that, like we did the Punahou gym, and people still talk about that. It was in 2007. So
Oh,
yeah.
awesome. So I think that pretty much wraps up everything. Is there anything else you're thinking of that maybe we didn't cover? But I think I did have a couple stats, and this is outside of Hawaii, but just so people have a grappling of the construction waste. I was going to mention this earlier, but then you threw out some stats just for Hawaii. But I found some stats online about annually, I think you had mentioned we produce 2.2 million tons of trash. Was that right? A third of that was waste is generated by the construction demolition industry. And then let's see, annually, believe it or not, construction waste is expected to reach 2.2 billion tons globally by 2025. I don't know where we're at, but I think this research was done in 2018, so it's kind of dated. So probably is even higher, who knows? And 23% of the national waste stream is estimated to be construction and demolition waste. So when we're dealing with all of the new construction and new build, that doesn't even count for the fact that you're using all these new materials. It's like just before you even get to blanket ground, like it's going to cost all of this through our waste stream that we're completely oblivious to. And it's so much so that, like, I think just even all the third world countries that are building up to, getting closer to doing more, it's not just rural anymore, and they're starting to build out cities. I mean, it's astronomical what's going to happen, I feel, with our carbon footprint, everything that's happening. So yeah, if there's more people like you in this world, I think it will be better for our earth. So thank you. Thank you for what you do.
Thanks, Christine. I really appreciate it. No, thanks. And you asked like what else, and I think just like for a call to action for people would just be simple. Come down to reuse and before you shop new for something, and then spread the word to your friends and family about the opportunities for deconstruction as opposed to demolition. And glad to be talking with you because realtors are also first on the scene when somebody's thinking about doing a demolition. So really appreciate all your support and helping kind of propel the
Yeah, I think I want to see if we can get you on HBR side and in front of realtors, because I think most realtors would not know this, but they do have meetings every month in all 5 regions on Oahu, and they have they always are looking for speakers. And this I think would be a great topic. I've had Vi come and talk on cesspools because that's a hot topic. I mean, these are all things that are like innovative for the real estate industry that they may not know about, but it's information that's very valuable to them once they do. So solar and all these things, I've kind of, when I was the chair from East Oahu, I brought a lot of this space to the talking points. So I think you'd be great for that. And I'm gonna, I'll pitch it over to them.
All right, sounds good.
Is there any other volunteer opportunities? Because you guys are a nonprofit, by the way, just so everybody knows, it's not just a regular company. Are there any volunteer opportunities that people can help you out?
Yeah, we have volunteers down at our Paka'ako Redistribution Center. So great opportunity to come in and help us sort stuff. We also are referring volunteers to our neighbors in our warehouse. They're doing the Maui Relief Donation Center, so sorting donations for folks on Maui. So lots of needs over there as well.
Awesome. All right. And the best way to reach you guys, Instagram, Facebook, it's at Reuse Hawaii on both of those, and reusehawaii.org, right?
Yep.
Can look you up on LinkedIn. And if you do want to shoot out an email, you're not so much on social media, I think info@reusehawai'i.org.
There it is.
All
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
I think that's it. If you guys have any other questions, let me know, but that wraps up everything. Thank you so much, Quinn, for joining us. And that's all I have for you today. Thanks so much, and subscribe to our podcast at www.smartlivinghawaii.org. You could check out our podcast there or on any other platform as well, and Instagram and Facebook. Until next time, live smart.
Aloha.